He is coming.
He is coming to us.
This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Trailer into Reaction. And what I'm looking at today is a teaser trailer for Robert Eggers Nosferatu. And like I said in my Screenfile short about this, Robert Eggers, I think, is a very fascinating director because he has such an eye for the small details. And so he tends to, by my reckoning, fixate on them. Though the problem is, I don't think Robert Eggers necessarily makes movies for people. I think Robert Eggers makes movies for Robert Eggers. And sometimes you can get away with that as a director. Though the problem is that Robert Eggers' vision is somewhat iconoclastic. And he's making mainstream films for himself. Once again, that's the way I see it. So this does not tend to work very well. They cost too much money and they're not small enough to do that. Some directors will make relatively low budget movies for themselves. That I understand because that's not going to break a studio. Well, I don't think that the budget of Nosferatu will break a studio either. But it's not a cheap film. And in fact, The Lighthouse also wasn't a cheap film, relatively speaking. And this tendency of his that I think undermines what he does. Robert Eggers needs to deal with smaller budgeted movies. You do that, you make it as personal as you like. And you may even surprise people. But when you deal with higher budgeted films, you run into the problem that you have to have them viewed by as many people as possible. And this is something that Robert Eggers, at least as of yet, cannot seem to really do. His introduction to Witch was a surprise to people, and as far as I'm aware, did well. Though The Lighthouse, both of which I saw, by the way, The Lighthouse wasn't a movie I hated. It was just a movie that, pardon the phrasing, was kind of up its own ass. I thought it was just pretentious and needlessly pretentious. For instance, it didn't need to be a black and white movie. I think black and white film is something that is not necessary for the most part. Because think about it. The only reason black and white film exists, and let's be honest, because there was no color film at the time. That's it. It's not, oh, well, we wanted to make it so beautiful. It's like, no, they did not have color film. They worked with what they had, which was black and white film. And so The Lighthouse as a movie always bugged me. It's not terrible by any stretch. I just don't think it's very interesting. The Witch, I think, is somewhat overrated. Once again, not a bad movie, just not as good as the hype would lead you to believe. Lower the budget for Robert Eggers movies, I think you'll get a better movie out of him. In any case, let's look at the official teaser trailer for Nosferatu.
Come to me. Come to me. Hear my call. Come to me. Professor, my dreams grow darker. Does evil come from within us or from beyond?
Is coming.
He is coming.
He is coming to us.
He's coming.
Who is coming to you, my child?
here encountering the vampire. Nosferatu.
Well, that was the official teaser trailer for Nosferatu, and the imagery is striking. Visually speaking, Robert Eggers has always been very good at what he does. Great looking images, but once again, I'm not always sure who he makes movies for. That was a very interesting trailer, but that's not the movie, and I think that's worth repeating. It's obvious, but I think it's worth repeating. Now keep in mind, the story of Nosferatu is based upon Dracula, or Dracula is based upon Nosferatu. I think it's the former, but I'm not 100%. So it seems very familiar, which brings to mind Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, a great movie. Why is Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula a great movie? Because it is stylistically remarkable. Its costumes, its lighting. But the thing is, with Coppola's movie, which I'm sure there will be comparisons drawn between it and Nosferatu, Coppola's movie, and Coppola's movies in general, for the most part, tend to acknowledge that there are other people watching them. And he treats it in such a way that it is typically very fascinating. Again, Coppola did One from the Heart as well, so, you know. Though, for the most part, he treats his movies as if they were made for other people to see. Once again, Robert Eggers' movies, thus far, feel to me like movies for Robert Eggers, and he needs to stop doing that. Though, what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Trailer Into Reaction. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow. Peace.